So how do you shoot available light as a photographer? Today we're looking at the various light setups I use for my photography and focusing on a deeper dive into what is available light and how to use it. Understanding light is not difficult, but it is one of the most important steps to growing as a photographer. So let's dive deeper into our lesson about available light. Generally, there are 4 situations that I like to shoot in for the most flattering available light look. The first is windows, using window light. Window lighting provides an easy and reliable way to filter the outside light indoors in a more directional way. So the second way that I like to use available light is shooting in open shade. If you can find open shade, you can place the subject, or you can place the sun behind the subject, and by placing the sun behind the subject, you avoid harsh shadows or dappled lighting on their face, and you can manage your exposures easier. So open shade is your best friend if you're shooting in very sunny situations. So find shade to control the light. The third way that I use available light is shooting at golden hour, and one of my favorite times to shoot by far, and for a lot of reasons. Golden hour is that hour just before the sun has fully set and as the sun begins to near the horizon. And again, this is one of the most beautiful times for me, and I love shooting beauty portraits, bridal portraits if possible, or even couple portraits at that time. It's very soft, it's very romantic, it's beautiful. The fourth way and final way that I like to use available light to shoot is to shoot at high noon, broad daylight, if you can believe it. One of the reasons why I like shooting in broad daylight is actually to use that light to create hard and harsh shadows, which can actually be used for creating very edgy, artistic shapes and working with lines and creating very edgy styled images. And now let's talk about something as a bonus tip here. If you're ever unsure about how to read the light, I'll show you a trick. What you can do is you can actually use your hand as a subject. So just hold it out in front of you and rotate and move. As you move, observe the way that the light hits your hand, and you can see which angle is actually the most flattering for the light that you're trying to achieve. If you're ever unsure which way the light is coming from, say it's an overcast day and you're not exactly sure where the light is coming from, use your hand. It's not a perfect model, but it gives you an excellent approximation at the time of the shoot to give you a really good reading of the light, so you kind of know which angle and which perspective you want to shoot as a photographer. So let's go through some images and I'll explain what I was doing for light. We've got an example here of a model in a situation shot indoors, and it's a wonderful example of how I used window light in this situation. This was shot, another example of window light, except this time using the translucent curtains as a diffusion material to diffuse the light coming onto the model's face. This is an example of shooting in open shade. This one was shot very early in the day, just closer around 6 o'clock p.m. here in Edmonton time, which is not quite golden hour, and the sun was coming just through the trees, just coming down onto the subject. We were shooting on the edge of the forest, so you can see that the ambient light was bouncing back into the shade and providing us with the key light, but the backlight was coming from the sun itself. And here's another example of shooting with golden light, golden hour kind of light going through the trees, as it was providing us with a beautiful backlight on the subject. And if you were able to get it just kind of hitting the lens just properly here, you can get a wonderful golden flare pattern on your lens. You don't want it to overwhelm the image, just provide enough augmentation just to light the subject. Now this is our final set of examples here, but showing you how shooting at high noon with broad daylight can actually provide you with some very harsh light and give you some very wonderful shadows that you can use for some creative fine art photography. This is another example of that here, where we had the sun coming down very strongly, and we used just like a construction panel to provide some shadows on the subject's face. And you can use basically anything that you have available to be able to create art. So I really encourage you just to expand your horizons, get out there and create with what you have. This is another example of shooting in high noon, except this time using the sun actually as our main light source. And we put the sun to the camera right, and it was high in the sky, and so we had the model turn her face up towards the sun so that the sun was lighting her face fully. Same sort of example here, using the sun as our main light source, broad daylight. And the beauty of using the sun as your light source is that you can actually create very saturated, powerful, punchy colors. And in this case, it doesn't wash out the sky. It can create very blue skies if you use the sun as your main light source. So those are some examples for using available light and what you can achieve. Lastly, as we conclude this lesson, remember that as photographers, we really should be able to create art in any situation. Work with what you have, where you have it, in the location that you have and with the subject that you have and with the light that you have. Learn to create in any situation. Try to place yourself in creative situations and challenging environments, and then problem solve to create an amazing art piece. And as you push your creative limits, you'll start to expand your repertoire of styles and become a more experienced and well-rounded artist. So just remember, get out there and create. Don't let your fears, your procrastination, or hesitation get in the way. I'm excited to see some of the art you create. If you have any questions or you have any feedback, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have. And also, these videos do take a lot of time to make, so if you enjoy them, please do click the like button, as it really helps me to get out the education videos out to more photographers who might want to improve their craft. So thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned for more photography lessons and behind the scenes videos.